We are with Philip Rorke, Broadcast Executive Director F1, and Dean Locke, Director of Broadcast and Media F1. So basically, every time you watch F1 races on the TV, you must say thank you to Philip and Dean's work. I have many curiosity about your work because it's something that is never shown. There are many jobs in F1 that are done in silence, in the background, but they are very important to make F1 a real show. So thank you for being here with me.
A pleasure. Thanks
Nice
for
to meet
inviting
you.
us, Noah.
I would like to know how many cameras you have installed on the track. Is it a fixed number or in a circuit longer like Spa you need more cameras?
Well, it is exactly that, Noah. Really, a track that's 7 kilometers long requires a lot of cameras, and I think in Spa we are running at 28. Similar in Saudi as well. Saudi Arabia is a very long circuit with lots of corners, so it does tend to take a lot of cameras. But then you go to Austria or Spain, and that's sort of down to 22, 23 cameras. So yeah, I mean, Dean, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Well, not just the length of the circuit, but also the sort of twisty nature. So actually, somewhere like Saudi Arabia or Melbourne, not necessarily the longest tracks in Melbourne, but very, lots of blind corners. And what we don't want to do is have an incident and no one ever sees it. So yeah, we like a lot of double coverage on corners. So if one camera's panning one way, then we have a backup that can still get any incidents that happen. But yeah, tight, twisty, and the length of the circuit makes a difference.
I know that F1 teams arrive on the track on Wednesday to set up everything for the race. But when do you and your staff arrive on the track to set up everything?
Well, it depends really. So the technical teams, all of our riggers and technical personnel, they go out sort of the end of the week before the race to lay all the fibers that take the signals around the track, from the cars, the loops, the nodes that the cameras connect into as well. So they're out there for sort of quite a while, and then later on, Dean, you'll arrive as well later, sort of in the race week.
Yeah, as Phil says, there's an awful lot of infrastructure to bring in, and challenging with a schedule. So whether that's double headers, triple headers, 24 plus testing each year. So it's a very well routined and almost military-like operation of how we go in and when we go in, and also getting out. D-rig is just as important, and a quick pack up is just as important as the rig. Yeah.
Thinking the same argument, how many people do you need to set up everything for a race weekend, and how hard is it?
Well, I think overall, the whole operation, so that goes from obviously just us television through to accreditation, through to all of the office staff that Formula One take as well. It's on average, it's about 280 people that go to the circuit. And then where I work in Biggin Hill, we have up to 100 people there across the various departments, helping make the television coverage work.
Where and how do you put the cameras inside of the tarmac for some special views like Radion? I know that sometimes, like in 2018, I remember when there was that shot in which the car, or 2019, the cars were going in the curb and there was a camera. So how do you put that camera under the curb in that corner?
Well, they're fantastic shots, aren't they? They really capture the speed of the cars, especially at Eau Rouge. It's fantastic. Well, we've got some very specialised people that work with the circuit, cut the curbs, install the tiny little bullet cameras that we have that are sort of very robust. They have to be to sort of fit into the curbs and take the punishment from the cars as they go over the top of them. But yeah, a very specialised team of people that sort of cut into the curbs, install the cameras with glue, and some very good cement as well, so that the cameras don't come out. And then they sort of route the cables through to the nodes at the side of the track, which I sort of briefly mentioned earlier. So yeah, good few people that are experienced in doing that. Dean, I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, I think you probably know more about it than I do a little bit, apart from we go out there and see them doing it, sometimes in pouring rain and sometimes in the heat. They're very susceptible to rain. Sometimes when we get in the morning, they're literally like they're in underwater, which also sometimes is a very interesting shot. But and some of this team have been doing it for a very long time, so they know all the sort of nature of these tracks and all the various areas. But yeah, they're incredible shots, and Phil and the production team use them really well.
Do you have a remote control of the camera, or you, as a director, go physically on the track and each circuit has a room dedicated for broadcasting?
Well, Dean, I don't know if you want to sort of do it from the ETC side first.
So we have physical camera operators around the track. We have a lot of remote cameras as well. The remote cameras are more around sort of safety areas. So if we want to get close to the action, or we don't want to put anyone at risk, we have tried some various elements of sort of automation in cameras as well in the past. We use some incredible camera operators that the best sort of motorsport camera operators in the world, and nothing quite gets close to their reactions and how good they are at representing our sport. But yeah, it's a real mixture of solutions and devices that we use and that we've honed our skills on throughout the many years that we've been doing it to create the best thing. So somewhere like Baku, where we're about to go, is incredibly challenging because you're so tight to the track. And we have bespoke camera mounts, we have bespoke scaffolding for those. Nothing really is very standard when it comes to covering Formula One. It's not like a stadium sport, and a permanent structure at that. So yeah, we have lots and lots of different solutions to catch all sorts of angles.
Sometimes I listen to the commentators complaining about the selection that you do of choosing which battle or which lap of qualifying to select. But I know that you have many things to see, because obviously you said that there are many cameras that you have. And how difficult is it to choose the right one?
That's a really good question, Noah. If you think about it, that there are 20 different stories happening all at the same time at nearly 330 kilometers an hour in some places like Monza. So it's a real sort of juggle to make sure that we are showing the right stories at the right times. So we have a very good team of producers, both on track and also back in Biggin Hill where we are. And we're all sort of working together to make a decision at that right time. But ultimately, it comes down to one person in the director's chair to push the right button, and make sure they're on the right story. And obviously, we've got a very dedicated and excellent team of replay operators as well, looking at all of the cameras, making sure that they're giving us the right stories at the right times. So yeah, sometimes they complain.
Enrico, what channel are you watching Formula One on?
I watch Sky Sport Italy.
We'll be talking to them now. Thank you for that report. But
yeah,
it's very subjective. So we may find that the UK broadcaster wants to see more of Lewis and Lando, and other broadcasters around the world, think we should see different things. I mean, I've even in my experience had two broadcasters in the same country having an argument about what we should be on. So it's not like a football match where you're following a football. It can be very subjective of how quickly we get to some of those battles. I like to think that they don't say it as much as they used to, and I'd like to think that we don't miss a great deal. I think sometimes they get frustrated that we haven't got there as quick as they want us to get there.
How many people check what is happening on the action on track, and who is the final man that decides to show this battle or this driver on the race?
I'll
Dean, go
pick
on.
this one up first.
Yeah.
Phil is very much controlling of how we show and and how we put that whole picture together. But there is a dedicated team looking at stories and subjects and tracing those stories and subjects. So, we have people that are really concentrating on timing pages, and some people are working a bit more pictorially around that. But and on both sides. So as Phil said, that's on the media and technology side in the UK, but also the event side at the track. And we also have a lot of sort of aids to help us as well, whether that is unique timing pages to us that help us pick out qualifying cars and trends, but we also even some AI software that we're developing at the moment, which actually creates and tells us where stories are and when they're about to happen. So yeah, dedicated team on both sides that are looking at subjects, making sure we don't miss anything.
Recently, I started to use live timing for each race and practice and qualifying, and I've noticed that there is a delay from the live timing that I use to the action on track that I see on the TV, and usually it's of 30 to 50 seconds. And sometimes I notice that you broadcast live incidents or mistakes of some drivers. For an example, I remember recently Leclerc at Monza in practice shoe was doing long runs and he did a mistake, and that was caught live. So I want to know if you have the delay or you have the possibility to edit the content.
Well, we don't have a very big delay, to be honest with you. It would surprise you to sort of know that we are well under a second. So we look at 120 milliseconds on average from the delay from London to the circuit. When we go to Australia, that's about 160 milliseconds. So very, very quickly. We couldn't have any more of a delay than that, because then it would become difficult. So pretty much we're capturing what's gone on at the circuit within a second. And the stuff that you're seeing on the timing pages.
Yeah, the answer to your question is all our feeds are in synchronization. So we see everything at the same time in sync with, like I said, no real latency or delays. Latency is is the killer to the way we cover Formula One. So no, all our feeds are in sync. It's sort of as a fan and a consumer of that, it's how you're consuming that, whether you're consuming that across digital platforms or even sort of satellite platforms that can create that. And we're doing a lot of work in that area to allow fans to have synchronized around timing and pictures as well. So that is available.
Do you have any technologies that help you with your work? Because I know that during a race there are many team radios, and sometimes you choose when the engineer says box. So not obviously all the team radios, but obviously when drivers usually swear a lot on team radios, so you have to censor that. But do you have someone that helps choosing the team radio to broadcast live?
Yeah, we do. We have a team radio producer, and he works with another 5 or 6 people in their team radio room. And they're listening to sort of a selection of drivers each, because you couldn't listen to, all of the drivers, just one person, one pair of ears. So they're working with the team radio producer, and they're giving that person a clip and saying, this is a good piece of radio. The team radio producer will then come through to Dean and myself and say, we've got this bit of radio, and if it's a good bit of radio, we'll say, yeah, go for it, and then we play it in. So yeah, they're listening across all of the 20 drivers and all of their engineers as well.
The sound is very important in broadcasting because so the microphones, I know that they are very big and long, but because I saw that from a video, I think it was like in Bahrain, turn 4, and for the camera shoots, and how hard is it to capture the engine sounds with a big microphone that obviously they're holding behind the wall?
Audio can be really challenging for us to pick up at certain tracks. Tracks like Bahrain, where we have large runoff areas, it can be quite challenging. Then we have some amazing tracks, Melbourne, Saudi Arabia, even Spa to an extent. You get some really good audio. And then when we go through the stadium in Mexico, we get some really good effects as well. There's roughly about 150 microphones around the track, pitching up a mixture of audio solutions for that. We have sort of up to 4 or 5 microphones on the car as well to create a sort of more surround sound on that as well. So it really is due to the nature of the circuit of the effects of the audio and what we're able to achieve. I think we're trying, going into next year, we're going to try and put a bit more emphasis on some of our audio solutions as well. We even had a meeting about it yesterday, what we were talking about, what we might be able to achieve, and trying to get almost some of the stadium sounds around some of these circuits as well, to bring that in, not just the car noise. And we're always trying to improve the onboard car noise as well. So
we have up to 150 microphones. Sorry, no.
When there is a crash on the track, you always wait to make see the replay. Is it to see if the driver is okay and gets out of the car, or is it for another reason?
It's to see that the driver is okay. Yeah, so we always wait as a matter of safety for the driver, just to make sure. We play the radio sometimes as well to say I'm okay, or the transcribe radio as well for the text. So yeah, that is the reason. And then if you get a major crash like Grosjean in Bahrain, we have to wait for the FIA, the medical team there, just to say that everything's okay, and we then make a decision between us.
Yeah, no, we take a very cautious approach. We have a lot of responsibility around some of those incidents, so we can take a cautious approach once we know. We're also in communication with the FIA and the medical team to know the extent. We're pretty good at knowing, when we can, and we've got good access to see what the driver's doing. But we certainly wouldn't want to make a mistake with the amount of viewers that we have and the access to those pictures.
What is the most difficult part of your job?
Keeping people happy, I'd say.
Yeah, we have a large fan base. We have 60 broadcasters, 160 territories, and all of them with unique demands. I'm sure, Noah, you feel we don't show enough of your favourite driver at times, and other people think the same. So it can be very challenging. And as Phil remarked earlier, a lot of things happen all at once. So we can go 4 or 5 laps where actually it's not, it's not quite as difficult. And then all of a sudden everything happens in those 4 or 5 laps, and we're trying to put all that together. We're one of the only sports that comes out of live to do replays. We're not like tennis, where a tennis player goes and sits down and the director has a lucky and a very fortunate position, can run all the replays there. Phil, when he's directing the main channel, has to decide when he's going to move out of the live pictures and do replays potentially for a minute long. So yeah, keeping our fans and broadcast partners happy is always a bit of a challenge. Noah, do you ever scream at the TV that we're on the wrong thing?
No,
Good to hear.
because
Well, you're very polite.
yeah. So what happens if a driver speak in their language? Because obviously there only 3 or 4 are British. And so my question is like, I remember in the 2010s when Alonso was in Ferrari with with his race engineer that was Andrea Stella, that is Italian. He was speaking with him in Italian to do strategies and all of these things. Like these other teams get confused. So what happens in these situations? Do you still broadcast a team radio or you don't?
Yeah, I can pick this one up. The language of Formula One team radio is in English, and I think that's for multiple reasons because the FIA are working across that language and they need to be across team radio as well. It's also a safety channel. So like aviation, I think it's an aviation, uses the same language, but very similar to that. We have had very rare, and no, you did well to remember that. Alonso did speak in Italian for a little while. We've had more, we just get the odd driver kind of celebrating potentially in their own language rather than using the actual team radio as a mechanism to their engineers. We managed to convince Alonso to go back to English, which helped us out. But it's actually very, very rare.
Hopefully in the future we can get technology to help us and maybe even give us live, translation so that that won't catch us out.
What has been the hardest race to manage? Let me guess, Spa 2021, in which basically there was no action and basically 5 laps under a safety car. And I remember watching that race live. There were a lot of footage, I remember when Norris was sleeping. So how hard was it to manage to broadcast that race?
That's a really good question. Again, I think the difficulty with that Spa race was us making sure that we were letting at home watching what was going on, which we're sort of continually looking at improving. But it's making sure that we're keeping you interested at home when there's not a lot going on, which is quite difficult. To be honest, there's only so many rain shots and puddles and slow-mos of drivers going through the water you can show. So yeah, it's making sure we're trying to keep the interest and the information going at the same time, really.
Yeah, Phil and I have done a lot of races together. We can go back to Indianapolis with 6 cars and all the cars peeling into the pit lane after the formation lap. I think that was an incredibly challenging race. I think the championship in 2020, was it? Yeah.
21, the big
21,
one. Yeah.
sorry. The championship in 21 across Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi was really challenging to cover, and an editorial stance on some of that. So yeah, I think Phil's right. Boring races are really challenging because we're trying to make them as exciting as possible, but also really busy races are challenging because you're trying not to miss anything. So it's the two ends of the spectrum, I'd say, the most challenging races.
Yeah, I think when everyone's talking at the same time, when everything's going on track and we're all trying to communicate with each other, yeah, that's challenging.
How do you adapt broadcasting according to the country who is hosting the Grand Prix? Maybe in Japan you dedicate more time to Tsunoda instead. Like last race in Monza, I've noticed that Ferrari was a little bit more more coverage and more coverage, but does it work like this, or is casual?
I think, I think we try and balance where we are at the time. In Monaco, we have Leclerc, and you spend a bit more time with them because it's in the sort of national interest of the race, but we still have to show everyone. So there's a balance there. You turn up the coverage a little bit for the home driver, just to make it special for them, but also remembering everyone else, really. I don't think it's like the old days where you didn't see any other drivers on track, just the home driver.
And there's certain bits of the coverage that we can tweak. So formation laps, coming to grid, start of qualifyings, we could focus on, as you said, the Ferraris in Italy because it's such a big deal. Lewis Hamilton was, in an interview before that, which we were aware of, was making big references to what it meant to him to, leave the pit lane in front of the Tifosi crowd in Monza, in such a historical team and track. So we try to echo that and bring that into the coverage. But once racing is on, we have to sort of concentrate on the storyline and the racing, things like that. But I think in Monza, Ferrari were doing really well and were really fast all through the practices. So that's what we focused on.
So I have a curiosity because I seen I heard that a car, even if it's a new entry in F1, could also be not shown and could be recorded, or some videos, obviously live, but it could not be broadcasted. Is this true? Because can a new team decide to not be broadcasted in F1?
No. No.
We have access to all the cars when they're on the track, and we decide how to film, the best way to film it. Yeah.
The TCAM during wet races cleans itself automatically, or you press a button to clean it if the visibility isn't clear. An example, apart from when it rains a lot like Spa, I remember the first few laps at Monza last year. Piastri's onboard was a little bit dirty, but do you have a button that makes it clean automatically, or with the speed of the cars it cleans?
No, you probably wouldn't believe this if I tell you that there's someone sitting in Biggin Hill in London pushing a button on a screen to tell the camera there's a piece of film in front of the lens, and they're pushing a button in Biggin Hill and it moves this clear film across the camera lens on the track wherever we're racing.
So even if that car's going 200 miles an hour in Melbourne,
Yeah.
in a different continent, in a different time zone, those onboard cameras are still controlled actually from our Media and Technology Centre in the UK.
Yeah.
Talking of new technologies, there are some new innovations that could change your work. I mean, also an AI system that can analyze data by itself. Do you think your job could be replaced by AI?
Well, let's hope not. Well, I mean, the AI is really important in the background. I think, as Dean mentioned earlier, there are tools that we can use that help us make decisions, and that's the biggest part of that role, I think. There are so many things in the jobs that we do that I think only a human could make. Only a human's got the opportunity to make the timing and the way the shot looks. AI goes a long way, but I think you need that human touch. And if you're watching at home, you would sort of see that.
Yeah, we're very technology embracing. We're Formula One, we're sports broadcasters. We always want to be on the front of everything, which we, pretty much are around tier one sports. And AI, I think, will only improve the way we cover Formula One in various ways, or even help us, reduce mistakes, create efficiencies, or create new content.
Uh, so you know that recently, obviously, the new F1 movie was released, and I saw many shots, and I know that obviously, probably you weren't part of this, but how do you think was the movie, and how do you think the shots turn out?
We were quite a large part of the movie. It is actually real race footage, which makes it a very authentic movie. So they took our race footage and put their storyline weaved through it in their car. So there was incredible technology that they brought in and utilized our onboard pictures, our race cut pictures, and even to the point where they asked us to film some pit stops because it had that authentic and looked like Formula One. It was a really good experience, wasn't it? Working with
It was, yeah.
high-end filmmakers on their side and our side. I think we learned a little bit from it as well, and hopefully they took a lot from us. But yeah, we worked very closely with them.
Thank you, Philip and Dean, for this amazing interview. And the next time, I won't complain if you don't see, if you don't broadcast an overtake. So thank you so much for this lovely interview.
Well, Noah, you have our emails now, so you can just send us
Yeah.
after the race. We'll try to get.
Send us your feedback. I know it's been wonderful to meet you. Thank you very much,
Thank
Noah.
you.
Thank you. Goodbye.